Hey guys, sorry if the video is kind of dark. I'll try to fix it in post if I can. But light's getting kind of low today. We're not too far away from where we're camping, and I came across this sapling while looking for firewood. It's been bowed over because of the flood water and debris that's been sent down this way. It's rained a lot. It hasn't flooded, it doesn't look like recently, but it is very wet where we're at. And so this tree looks like it's been this way for a long time, and the leaves at the top out of frame, which you can't see, are already turning brown. So this is going to be my candidate for a sapling push cut on the camp in trail. You can see part of it's already starting to dry up down here. So I'm going to take this one down. I am hammock camping, and my hammock system allows for a couple guy out points if I choose to use them, but I didn't pack in any stakes. So I'll be using it for that, and I'll probably be using this for cooking grate, maybe something near camp. So I'm going to take it down here again, just arcing this to put tension on these lower fibers here, and then I'm going to try to use a push of the knife to take it down. Alright, you can see it's a sizable sapling, fairly clean cut. It's still a little bit damp down here, but it is starting to dry out, so this should still be okay for fire use. Stout blade, but pushes through it very easily. Again, this has not been reconditioned by me. Something that I've done with a lot of knife tests before is I'll take them back with the edges having been kind of reworked on the stones or stropped or whatever. This has a little bit of Bark River white compound strop work after doing some basic stuff in the backyard. But to be honest with you, before I came out, I was doing more feather sticking and stuff like that, and I did not strop it. I just went ahead and brought it out as was. So this is basically a factory edge, and it did a push cut through a bent sapling, no problem. So it will do that, guys. Sorry, got kind of dark on us pretty quickly there. Hope all this is in frame. It's the maximum settings that this particular camera will go, but it's been wet where we are, and finding tinder has been a challenge. We've got some cotton balls and stuff we can use if need be, but hanging in a tree I found this fine root right here, and I've been trying to increase the surface area and try to get some of the moisture out of it by spreading it apart and stuff. Over the last several minutes, been letting it sit here. I don't know if it's going to take or not. It's about the driest thing I could find that was fine enough to light, and I'm just going to have it backing here with this piece of fungi here I found, and see if I can get this stuff lit with just a fire steel. Again, might have to go to a cotton ball because it's incredibly wet out, but we will see how it goes. This has a consistency of about, I don't know, maybe a kind of feels kind of like steel wool right now, and we'll see how it goes. Oh, it went. Hot but tasty. I've got a little bit more water of that. In case you're curious, this is the Snow Peak Titanium 450 cup, single walled, so it is hot to the lips. And this is the bottom and the top of the Snow Peak Solo Kit lid, pot, I guess you'd call it, lower cup, and this fits down inside that nicely. So that's what I like to take if I'm by myself, or if I'm only cooking for myself. Bring a older, bigger kid if I'm out with the wife, or if I know I'm going to be cooking for more than one person. All right, guys, going to try to do a little bit of batoning now. Did do some last night in camp. Lots of moist wood around here. Not a lot of dry stuff, but we did manage to get the fire going, which I may have shown you in the video already. I'm not sure I'm going to cut this, but I will show you at some point, you know, using it with a fire steel to get the fire started and stuff. So anyway, just some wood from around camp. It's going to be various kinds. I don't even know all of it, but let's see how it does. Now, it will probably start right out of frame for you guys. I apologize for that, but just make a pile on that side there. I'm not really going to make these really small because we aren't doing much more fire today. Ants in this piece, not doing much more fire. So whatever of this we don't use, we'll just leave for the next hikers that may find this place, or for ourselves next time. And this can, of course, go smaller. Blade geometry seems ideal for this. Not quite as thick as an original Bravo 1. Maybe more like the Bravo Light. I'll have to look at some measurements on some line and see. I don't recall off the top of my head, but the blade length is very useful on this, as you would expect. Side here. Move on to a different type now. This one's pretty wet, but straight. Tough though. Not real wet in the middle though. Kind of spiraled on me there. Try one more long one here, and I think we'll call it quits. See, very lengthy piece. Let's see how it handles this. I'm gonna stand up to get this one started. No idea what kind of wood this is. It may very well be oak. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like it on the bark, but it is really tough. and it did it. So if you're backpacking or camping, or for whatever reason you have just your knife, the Bark River Camping Trail will handle it no problem. That's a good, quick way to make some tinder. After you've already split some wood. Stuff takes really well once you have a spark. And it's a big blade, but it made quick work of that, so split tinder, not a problem for the Bark River Camping Trail. Alright guys, going to take a look at some feather sticking now. Sorry the light's going to really go in and out because there's a kind of in a valley here and a lot of tree cover, and the sun is kind of breaking in and out, so hopefully it will be good enough to look at what we're trying to look at here. I can tell you this has been a really fun knife to use. Pretty light and nimble for a big blade. Probably saw that on my introduction video. Deceptively lightweight for a knife this size. Let's see if I can clean up a straight edge here. No idea what kind of wood this is. Again, it's some of the stuff we found on the ground that was mostly dry. Let's see if I can get something going here on this. I'm going to do a technique. If you've watched any of my videos, you've seen me do it before. I'm going to kind of like when you're doing split tinder, punch the knife through and then dragging the wood along the blade. I'm going to hold the blade locked, this hand locked right here, and then drag the wood along it, and then try to keep the shaving attached at the very end. You can still make a fire if they come off, obviously, but you can see right there, hopefully that's getting in focus, fairly fine curls. This might be maple. I'm not sure. Couldn't tell by the bark that was on it, but clean some of that up. Now I'm actually using the knife arm for force, holding the feather stick still. And I find that both techniques create about the same curl, but depending on the type of wood, if it's rounding like this one tends to round, or if it's like a harder angle, will depend on if it's better to pull the wood toward myself, pull the wood toward me, or to push with the blade arm. And I'm using the back part of the blade like I normally do. It's where I've got the best kind of center of gravity. I could put my thumb on the back if I need to, but I really don't. It's easier to control the blade. It's also the flatter part of the blade. So here's this one, in just a couple minutes, as you can see. Hopefully this will focus here. It does it no problem. There's some pretty fine curls in there. I'll start another one, but as you guys know, if you've done it before, feather sticking is feather sticking. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I find stone sharpening, stropping, and feather sticking to be among the most soothing things that I can do. Once the blade finds a rhythm along the wood, it's really, really, really relaxing to me. But as you can see, try to see if this will focus close up. The sun's doing really crazy stuff here, and this is, you know, just me pushing. I don't really have that much pressure on the blade. And this is factory, pretty much factory sharp. I mean, the micro bevel is still there. I haven't done any stone work to it at all. This knife is that full height. You can see it. I'll show you more on the inside. You've probably seen my previous video, but it does a great job. And I'm liking this handle material. The sheep horn is grippy and thick enough that it doesn't feel like it's going to get away from me. Just trying to do some thinner ones now. So it'll do thin shavings too. These are really, really small. Kind of pull them off here, and you know, you could curl them up, make little Tinder balls. I mean, lightweight, good stuff. So I do really like this knife. It's going to be a toss-up now between this and the GSO for me. I think the GSO feels tougher. The 3V I know to be really good steel. A2 is awesome too. One thing I do like about the A2 is it will strop a little bit better, especially, you know, out in the field. If I wanted to take a leather strop with me, a small one, like a field strop along with me, to maintain a knife over a long period of time, it is really, really good about that. The handle on this one's a little bit thicker, so it's a little bit more secure, I feel like, but I love that GSO. And just, this one's got the blade length on it by comparison, give you a little bit more for batoning and stuff, but the 4.1 is, I think, only 3/4 of an inch shorter, which is noticeable, but it's good. I like this metal guard. I didn't think I was going to, but I do. Awesome knife. Now I'm just going to make some traditional shavings. You can see this will go through the wood no problem. In my experience with this, again, I've been making feather sticks in my backyard, batoning that I've done since I've been here. I mean, it throws a good spark. The back spine's sharp enough to scrape. If you were going to make tinder off of a tree and you wanted to kind of pull some I don't know, cedar shavings or whatever it is you'd find, anything like that. It's sharp enough to do that. Certainly sharp enough to throw a spark. I did it last night. And it's a good handle, in my opinion. Obviously, it's all my opinion. But I'll tell you what, is it a traditional bushcraft knife? No. If you're thinking of skinny ground blades and 3.5, 4 inches in length, and this is obviously out of that pool, but I mean, if you want to get away from a less rigid definition and say, is it something I can use in the wilderness for, I mean, I don't hunt. Maybe I'll do some meat carving when I get back home with it. I'll just have to figure out if that's something I want to do. But the knife is plenty of sharp to cut meat. Maybe not the best design for small to medium game hunting. May not be the most comfortable. And Virtue of Ice is probably certainly not going to agree that this is an awesome deer hunting knife. But you know, it could do it if you needed it to. And it does dry wood. It does green wood. I didn't show any of the notching that I did last night, playing around and doing tent stakes, but basically it's, you know, pretty simple, just doing what I'm doing now. And this is dry hardish wood, and it does green no problem. You know, you can get through there with your thumb, and this is harder wood obviously, but you know, this would do, it does do green no problem. In the back of a, you know, you can sit there and do rolling cuts, and then on green it's obviously much easier to get. All right guys, ran back over near camp and found a piece of that green wood that I wound up not using yet. So if you were to make, you know, like a tent stake or something, and you just wanted to come up here and round these edges off to brace them for, you know, striking with a mallet or a rock or another piece of wood. Depending on how round you want to make it, but there you go. See if this will focus here. No problems. And then this is a, you know, you can see it's a bigger round than my thumb, about the size of my thumb, maybe a little bit bigger, but I mean, it skipped off of just a little bit, but and it's a thick piece of wood. So and there's your kind of a rough tent peg right there. You can always notch it for holding the groove at the top. And again, thumb pushing with the belly, not a problem. Again, this is a pretty thick piece of green wood, but it's got good bite. I like this knife a lot. Lightweight's a big help. That bushcraft, blind horse number 9 sheath I've been using it in. Showed it to you in the previous video, the black one over here. It's been a good sheath. So, and there's a basic tent peg. Let me get this knife out the way. Kind of out of the frame here, but you know, you can do this and then wrap your cord around it. There's tons of stuff you can do with green wood. There's bushcraft technique is a lot better from people than me. Obviously, you can watch plenty of videos on YouTube about it. But for what I've done that was considered bushcrafty, you know, tent stakes, Dakota pits, fire grates, just little fun whittling projects and stuff. This is good stuff, and this knife doesn't have a problem with it. Again, factory edge, micro bevel, I think based on previous experience, it might perform even a little bit better, to be honest with you, with a slight bit of fine tuning from the Waterstones. It's just my opinion based on my experience with other A2, but you know, good stuff. Like this knife a lot. So see how the edge held up when we get back home as usual, guys. Hey guys, finally back from the woods, and I'm going to take an opportunity to see how the edge retention is on this. I didn't even clean the blade this time. In fact, I haven't even taken it out of the sheath since I got back. So there's still going to be some residue, maybe some sap and some other stuff on it, but I think the edge itself, the cutting edge, will be clean enough to do the paper cut test. I did want to show you this fire steel I was using. I said it was a cheap one. I think it's maybe it's a Coghlan's, something like that. I don't know if this is going to focus here, but see if it will. Right there, Coghlan's. It's a cheapo fire steel that comes with a scraper. As you can see, I've had this one for quite a while now. Been eating this up through the years. I meant to get a new one before I left, but didn't. So this is what I was using. Basically, I've not really seen a fire steel less expensive than this anywhere. I think it's like $5 or $6 at Dick's Sporting Goods. And my experience has been that Dick's sometimes is even high on things, so you might find it a little cheaper, though Amazon I think was still higher. Again, I'm not necessarily recommending this fire steel. I find zero problems with it compared to any of the ones that run $15 or $20. I'm just saying I wasn't using a high-end fire steel to light the fire and stuff. So let's take a look at the blade now. As you can see, see if this will focus here for you. There's gunk all over it. Let's see, it should be focusing now. Kind of the other side too. This is from, you know, working with that green wood. It's from batoning, feathersticking, all that kind of stuff, especially this big thing right here. Usually that's just, you know, surface junk that'll come off with either a magic eraser is good at taking that kind of surface stuff off. If it doesn't do it relatively quickly, using Flitz steel cleaner will do a good job. It also does a good job of taking the baton marks off and any scrapings from fire steel. Luckily, I only had to strike the thing like 3 times to get it to take, so I really don't have any fire steel scrapings on the spine here. So all I want to do now, I'm gonna lick my fingers and try to go along the blade and clean up any junk that may be on there before I do a paper cut test. I may have said this already. I don't know. I haven't edited it all yet, but I do plan on reconditioning this edge with stones because I think it'll perform better. That's my experience been with A2, but I'm trying to see if this will focus up here on this, the light shifting. But right here, there's a little bit of a recurve because there's a little bit of a mistake on the grinding. I don't know if that's going to show up or not in the video. But I am going to take it to the fire steels. I am going to take it to the stones and recondition that edge, kind of straighten it out, and then just really kind of fine tune it to get what I feel will be the best performance out of it. And I'll go over some final thoughts about the knife, you know, when I come back from doing that. Just want to take a quick couple minutes out of the day, grab some printer paper here, and see how it does. It's just a very, very tad bit hairy, but this is still excellently sharp for any type of outdoor needs. Doesn't do a wiggle cut quite as nice as it will. I don't see any edge imperfections. It could just be that micro bevel. I didn't do a paper cut test for you guys to start things out, but you know, still plenty of sharp to do anything you would need to do wood-wise, or even, you know, field dress, small game, or anything like that. So. Whoop, that was me, not the blade. So as you can see, it was only an overnight. Again, I was out less than 24 hours. So I did do quite a bit of batoning, given that we only made 1 fire, mainly to demonstrate that for you guys. I want to leave in a big pile there. But there you go. I did like this sheath quite a bit. I don't know if it was because there was a little bit of space up in this top part here or not, right up in here. Let's see if this will focus here for you guys. There's some space on this side of the handle, so when the wind would blow and stuff, I would get like a howling sound. First couple times I'd kind of turn around and see what was going on, but sheaths are sheaths. I mean, the performance of the sheath was really good. For a knife this size, it was really lightweight, never got in my way. I just really did enjoy it. I wound up doing like a 7-8 mile hike the following day and did wear this on my belt. Again, no tie downs or anything, and there wasn't a ton of slap. Again, I thought it was really good, so I think I'm going to stick with this sheath. So the last segment, guys, coming up will be some final thoughts that I have about this knife after I've taken the opportunity to clean up the metal and then recondition that edge, take a look at the sharpness, and again, some closing thoughts. So stick around. All right, guys, back with the Reconditioned camp and trail knife. The A2 is very easy to recondition on the Chaucer stones, but this time I was getting out that micro bevel along the edge. It was more substantial up near the belly line and tip than I had really originally even thought, and get the recurve back at the base to try to straighten that out a little bit. Took me a little bit longer than normal, but nothing serious. Was able to get all that stuff taken care of with the Chaucer 400 stone. Didn't want to do anything too abrasive as to remove too much metal. It can kind of watch what I'm doing as I go. Then kind of rounded things out with the 800 and then polished and honed it up really to sharp on the 1000 and 5000. Again, all these Chaucer stones. I'll try to show you a close-up of it now if it will focus here. Give it a second. And there is the new knife edge. You can see the telltale signs of stone sharpening. I did buff out some of those haze lines and kind of do a steep pull on the leather strop with the Bark River white compound, just to give just a slight bit of taper at the edge, nothing major. Because this knife is a thinner geometry than the Bravo 1, and because there's no abrupt, I don't know if you can see it when I tilt it in the light, there's no crazily abrupt change down the face. It's not like it's thick and then it just quickly tapers the edge. It's very gradual. It's almost like a full flat grind in a way. I mean, I know it's convex, but I don't know if you can see that here. Try to clear up my lower screen here. I don't know if that's going to show up, but let's see, try again. Anyway, give you an idea. It's very shallow all the way throughout. Nothing substantially deep or thick. So it makes for a very fine edge. And I was feather sticking with a piece of wood in the backyard, and after I finished up reworking this edge, I went back out and got another piece of it. And I'd have to say it feather sticks better now than it did before. These are thinner, finer, and longer. The knife, because of the bite and because it's really sharp and shallow, it's able to really grab and roll without knocking the shavings off a lot. So I do enjoy the feather sticking ability of the Reconditioned edge, as I predicted that I would, again, my experience with A2. This new edge is really sharp. A2 is capable of holding a superb edge. Show it to you now on a piece of office scrap paper. I mean, if you couldn't see it before, I'll show it to you now. That the wiggle cut, I'll hold it way back here on the back of the handle and see if I can get it to work even with the wind. So I don't have a lot of pressure up near the front of the knife. So I can't really control the cut as easily as if I'm up here. So this is a lot easier to demonstrate a cut. But if I hold it back, way back here, I don't have near as much control over what the tip is doing. So all I'm gonna do is rotate the back all the way through the knife and all the way through the edge, and you can see there's no imperfections or anything. So this knife is very sharp now, much more to my liking than how it was out of the box, but that's usually the case, at least in my preference. A2 stone sharpens and strops very nicely, in my opinion. It does really good with stropping in the field. 3V is a lot more resilient, so it's tough to get out any type of imperfections. But this knife has been really a blast to use. I'm glad I finally did try it out. I was kind of hesitant but I love everything about this knife. I love the handle materials. I probably wish there was a little bit more texturing on this side, maybe near the thumb, especially when it's cold. It just gives a little bit more traction, but it's girthy enough in the hand. I don't even know if that's a word, but it's got enough thickness, enough palm swell in the hand to be very comfortable. This taper design, I don't feel like my hand's creeping toward the blade too much like I did on the Canadian Special. The guard's very smooth, there's no sharp points, makes it very, very nice to use. The back of this knife is big enough and it's angular enough to get a good thumb lock if you're, you know, trying to do like I was doing, stick it in a tree stump or trunk and do split tinder. It's just a very well thought out knife in my opinion. Reminds me a lot of the Bravo, but substantially lighter, therefore more nimble in the hand. It's plenty thick enough to take on tasks like batoning, you know, splitting tinder, anything like that. You know, right now I would have to say, and this is just my recommendation based on the Bark Rivers I've tried. The knives that I've tried for outdoor use are the Bravo 1, the Aurora. I've tried both of those. I'm sorry, the Bravo I've only tried in A2. The Aurora I've tried in 3V and A2. The Canadian Special I tried in 3V. The Bark River Bushcrafter was obviously only in 3V. And I've tried the Sahara in A2. Off the top of my head, those are the ones I can only remember trying recently, in addition to the Camping Trail. Of all of those, I would say if you're really just strictly looking at something that's what we would call bushcrafty, where, you know, it's got maybe something like a spear point kind of design, you know, more curvy handle, you know, I would say something designed for that type of use. Most people would probably argue that the Aurora or the Bushcrafter, if you don't mind the shorter blade, are what you want to go after. If you're looking for something with a longer blade, then there's plenty of those. I like all those knives I've tried. They're all kind of in their own little, they have their own little facets that make them each unique. The Sahara is probably my least recommended because I've now tried this. This is a longer blade option that's more nimble in the hand, and I think has plenty of knife steel to get you what you need to do without being an overkill. And it doesn't have the false grind or the swedge on the top, which can be, you know, to some people's disliking and arguably not the best for batoning or whatever, but I highly recommend this knife. If you want something a little bit thicker, the Bravo 1 is obviously highly recommended. Have not tried the LT, it would be thinner than this, but if you like that Bravo 1 design, the handle is excellent on it. That's probably got to be easily recommended. But overall for me, if you like something that's longer than 4 1/4 inches, you know, something maybe approaching the 5-inch margin, this knife is going to be really tough to beat. 3V steel would be an interesting combination on this. It would make it probably a little bit heavier. Then they might make the knife a little bit thicker. I don't know. They seem to be doing well with the Bravo and LT, but if you don't, the Bravo 1.5 is really a Haas knife. It's a lot heavier. The handles, you know, more of the Bravo style and stuff, but this knife is really good. I can't comment on the wood handles or any type of the handle materials that would be thinner throughout. Those may be more comfortable for some and not for others. But I highly recommend this knife, and I'm really, really glad I tried it. If it's in your price range, if it meets the specs as far as, you know, dimensions that you like, if you don't mind the metal finger groove, and you know, you've been looking to try a Bark River, the Camping Trail is a really, really good knife. And I think most people are going to be really surprised with how light this knife is. Anyway, guys, sorry if I rambled on a little bit too much there. All these are non-scripted, so they have a tendency to go a little bit longer than even I myself predict. I only had it for 24 hours in the woods. I do plan on using it if I get some more trips coming up, you know, in later November. This was a surprise 24-hour deal. I didn't plan anything, you know, significant or anything extensive out. I just took it and used it how I would normally use it, with a few other things to try to demonstrate for you guys and for myself. And I'm really, really happy with this knife. If you like Bark River, you like A2, and you like longer blades, if you're an outdoorsman, and you don't need something that's overwhelmingly hunting specific, again, I think this will do it just fine, especially with the stone start sharpening. I highly recommend the Bark River Canvas Trail. It's a crazy good knife, guys. At least in my opinion. Of course, you're watching YouTube, and that's all any of these videos are users' opinions. Anyway, guys, I hope as always you're enjoying your knives, I should say, sharpening supplies, and your backpacking materials, anything that you guys do out there in the woods. And if nothing else, I hope it cured some boredom. Till next time, guys, be safe out there, and God bless.